Imagine waking up tomorrow morning and discovering that the world's most important trade routes have suddenly been blocked. Oil tankers stop moving. Cargo ships are stranded in the middle of the sea. Stock markets begin crashing across the globe. Fuel prices skyrocket overnight. Factories slow down. Airlines cancel flights. And within days, the global economy begins to tremble. It may sound like a scene from a disaster movie. But the truth is, the entire modern world depends on just a few narrow gateways on the planet. Tiny points on the map that most people have never even heard about. Yet these places control the movement of energy, food, electronics, and trillions of dollars in global trade. These locations are known as choke points. And if even one of them is disrupted, the consequences could reshape the entire world. Tonight, we explore 3 of the most powerful choke points on Earth. Places so important that closing them could trigger an economic earthquake across the planet. Chapter 1: What is a global choke point? In global trade, a choke point is a narrow passage that ships must travel through in order to move goods between major regions of the world. These routes often appear small on maps, but they carry enormous volumes of cargo every single day. Oil tankers transporting energy. Massive container ships loaded with electronics. Food shipments traveling between continents. When these routes function normally, global trade flows smoothly. But when something blocks them, the consequences spread quickly across the entire global economy. Throughout history, control of these narrow passages has been a source of enormous power. Empires have fought wars over them. Navies have protected them. And modern governments monitor them constantly. Because whoever controls these choke points can influence the flow of global trade. And sometimes, even the balance of world power. One of the most important choke points on Earth lies between Iran and Oman. It is called the Strait of Hormuz. At first glance, it may not look particularly impressive. In some areas, the waterway is only about 33 kilometers wide. But this narrow channel connects the oil-rich Persian Gulf to the open ocean. And every single day, enormous oil tankers pass through these waters. Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Kuwait, Iran, the United Arab Emirates. All of these countries export massive amounts of oil through this single passage. In fact, nearly 1/5 of the world's oil supply travels through the Strait of Hormuz. That means millions of barrels of oil flow through this corridor every day. Energy that powers cars, airplanes, factories, and entire economies. But the location of the strait also makes it extremely vulnerable. Because it sits directly between countries that have experienced decades of political tension. Iran has repeatedly warned that if its security is threatened, it could block the strait. Even a temporary disruption could cause oil prices to surge worldwide. Insurance costs for shipping would skyrocket. And global energy markets could plunge into chaos. This is why the region is heavily monitored by powerful naval forces. The United States Navy maintains a constant presence in nearby waters. Other international forces also patrol the region. Their mission is simple. Ensure that the Strait of Hormuz remains open. Because if it closes, the consequences could be immediate and severe. Chapter 3: The Suez Canal Crisis. Thousands of kilometers away, another choke point plays an equally critical role in global trade. The Suez Canal. Unlike the Strait of Hormuz, this passage is not a natural waterway. It is an artificial canal built in the 19th century. The canal cuts through Egypt and connects the Mediterranean Sea to the Red Sea. Before the canal existed, ships traveling between Europe and Asia had to sail around the entire continent of Africa. This journey added thousands of kilometers and weeks of travel time. The construction of the Suez Canal changed global trade forever. Today, thousands of ships pass through it every year. Carrying oil, electronics, clothing, food, and countless other goods. But in 2021, the world received a reminder of how fragile this system really is. A massive container ship called Ever Given became stuck in the canal. For 6 days, global trade slowed dramatically. Hundreds of ships were stranded. Billions of dollars in goods were delayed. And global supply chains were disrupted. If a single ship could cause such disruption, imagine what would happen if the canal were closed for months. The economic shock could ripple across every continent. Chapter 4: The South China Sea. The third choke point may be the most dangerous of all. The South China Sea. This region carries more than $3 trillion in global trade every year. Major shipping routes pass through these waters, connecting Asia to the rest of the world. China, Japan, South Korea, Taiwan, Vietnam, the Philippines. All of these countries rely heavily on these sea lanes. But the region is also one of the most politically sensitive areas on Earth. Several countries claim parts of the sea. China has built artificial islands equipped with airstrips and military facilities. Warships regularly patrol the region. Military aircraft fly overhead. Tensions rise and fall, but they never completely disappear. If a serious conflict erupted here, the effects could spread far beyond Asia. Global shipping routes could be disrupted. Energy supplies could be affected. And the economic consequences could reach every corner of the world. Final conclusion. The modern world is more connected than ever before. Goods travel across oceans in massive ships. Energy flows through pipelines and shipping routes. Food and electronics move between continents every single day. But this complex system depends on a few narrow gateways remaining open. The Strait of Hormuz, the Suez Canal, the South China Sea. These locations may look small on the map, but they carry the weight of the global economy. And the truth is, the world depends on them more than most people realize. Because if even one of these choke points were closed, the consequences could be felt in every country on Earth. Fuel prices, food supplies, manufacturing, global markets. All of it could change overnight. And that is why these narrow passages remain some of the most strategically important places on our planet. Places where geography, economics, and geopolitics collide.